The Tathagatagarbha Sutra is a Mahayana sutra and text that originated in India and traveled quickly to China, where it became very influential. It is composed of 9 heterogeneous similes that explain the idea and objective of the Buddhist practice. The concept behind all of the similes is the idea of realizing one's own inherent inner Buddha, the Buddha nature. There are many names for the same thing in the Tathagatagarbha Sutra, and the main objective is to discover one's own tathata, one's true self, a self in which one has attained pure thought with no distractions or defilements. Every sentient being is a tathagatagarbha that contains a tathagata. Everyone has the ability to become a Buddha and realize one's dharmakaya. However, all living beings exist in a world designated as samsara, a continuous cycle of birth and death, a world of suffering. The only way to become a Buddha is to realize one's own dharmakaya by shedding away the samsara defilements that cover the tathata and prevent the individual from seeing his or her true self. The naturally present Buddha jnana will emerge once the muck of corruption and one's own ego is pushed away. The Tathagatagarbha Sutra and the belief behind it illustrate a way of visualizing the path to enlightenment. The way the sutra is written allows followers a more easily comprehensible view of Buddhism that provides an optimistically attainable goal. By describing the sutra, commonly held beliefs about the sutra, and why it developed, one can see that everyone has the power and the capability of achieving enlightenment and becoming a Buddha. The Tathagatagarbha Sutra originated in India, but is now mainly only accepted and practiced in China. It appeared in India in the Andhra region around the 3rd century AD. However, it was scarcely mentioned and moved swiftly northwards out of India to Khotan and then to China, where it became very influential around the 7th century AD. Tibet argues that the Tathagatagarbha Sutra goes against the Buddhist doctrine and practices an idea of permanence, an idea each individual has a soul-like entity within oneself. China views this criticism as too harsh. The sutra was written in a non-philosophical, non-scholastical way in order to attract people who are not very familiar with the practices of Buddhism. It is used to attract people from neglected segments of the Buddhist community or even groups outside of the community to the practice. It is a way to encourage people to practice Buddhism so that they can experience the benefits of the Buddhist lifestyle. The lotus flower is a common symbol throughout Buddhism, and it is the theme of the first simile in the sutra. Michael Zimmerman claims that the term Tathagatagarbha originated from the image of the blossoming lotus whose petals rot away to reveal the bodhisattva seated within. Garbha means calyx or womb, and therefore Tathagatagarbha means a womb surrounding the Tathagata. He believes it was the one term the authors thought fit the idea most accurately. The Tathagatagarbha Sutra is composed of 9 heterogeneous similes. These similes aid followers in their path of realizing their own Buddha jnana. It helps individuals envision the process of removing defilements from an aspect of themselves that is already there but unrecognized, the tathata. The similes can also be described as paradigms that illustrate the idea of the tathata as anything from the honey inside a beehive surrounded by a swarm of bees to a piece of gold covered in impure waste that needs to be washed clean, or even as a pit in fruit that has the potential to grow into a tree if only one can uncover it from the fruit that surrounds it and keeps it hidden. The similes give different perspectives of how to envision the process of cleansing the Tathagata. The tathata in the Tathagatagarbha Sutra can be viewed in 2 different ways, but the main objective of the sutra remains the same for both views. The main objective is to purify oneself of defilements by encouraging the visualization of removing these defilements in order to discover the Buddha nature, true self, or it is also known as the Buddha jnana. However, there are 2 different ways of thinking about the Tathagata, and those 2 ways are defined by the followers of Shentong and the followers of Rangtong, respectively. The Shentong believe that everyone has a true self, including Buddhas. They view everyone as equals. Everyone has a tathata, an actual entity within, the idea that something does exist within each individual, it just needs to be revealed or cleaned. The Buddhas, however, are the only ones that are lucky enough to have been able to shed their defilements and know what the tathata is actually like. They believe everyone has the same potential as any Buddha that has existed or does exist. Hookham phrases it well when he says, something is present that is being cleaned as well as being focused on in order for purification to take place. Only after purification does one become a Buddha, but everyone has the same potential. The Shen Tong think the Rang Tong illustrate tathagatagarbha in such a way that makes it difficult to comprehend or understand why anyone would want to attain emptiness. The more stringent Rang Tong followers argue that there is a difference between Tathagata and Tathata. They argue that Buddhas do not have a Tathagata and that only beings, individuals who are not followers of Buddhism, and bodhisattvas, individuals on the path to Buddhahood, do. They view Tathagata as a veiled emptiness that when unmasked is an uncovered emptiness within oneself called Tathata that allows for pure thought of the true self. Unlike the Shen Tong, they believe that there is no object to focus on, only emptiness. Buddhas are believed to have something others do not unless those others reach their dharmakaya as well. They argue that the Shen Tong view misinterprets and poorly illustrates the true nature of the Tathata. The Rang Tong do not recognize that there are two different views and in fact believe that the Shen Tong view goes against Buddhist doctrine. Despite the differences in visualizing the Tathata, there are common beliefs among the two groups. The Tathata needs no further ripening or essential change, although parts of the phrasing in the sutra may seem to imply that it does with its use of words such as seed and fruit, and the idea that the Tathagata can be viewed as a symbolic embryo and womb. Everyone is equally capable of discovering their own Tathata, at which point it becomes seen as the Dharmakaya. All sentient beings have the ability to become Buddha by realizing their Dharmakaya, and in order to reach Dharmakaya, one only needs to uncover the Tathagata. The correct way to see the path is to see it as a way to learn to trust and let go of preconceived egotistical and dualistic notions and allow the naturally present Buddha jnana to emerge without obstruction. There is no long, upward pull to perfection through self-effort and self-development as some ignorant people may view it. There is no building or strain, but rather a shedding and letting go. The revealing of the Tathata has different meanings and many names for the same thing. The Dharmakaya can be described as true self, clear light, nirvana, inner Buddha, or Buddha nature. Dharmakaya occurs when a person gets rid of sensual desire, anger and hatred directed towards any other sentient being, sloth and boredom, restlessness and worry, and doubt, which are the defilements that obscure the Tathata. Nirvana, Dharmakaya, or whatever else one chooses to call it, is the state of freedom from the suffering of samsara. It means that one has obtained a purity that consists of a clear mind and has gained a wisdom that can be called Buddha jnana. This freedom and wisdom is only obtained as soon as all of the defilements have been removed. Once a Tathagata has abandoned something, he cannot take it up again. The Dharmakaya is realized once the Tathata is reached. It can be reached by either viewing it as an emptiness that needs to be unveiled or as a material object that needs to be uncovered from unnecessary defilements. Either way, the individual needs to shed whatever it may be that is covering his or her Tathagata in order to be able to see his or her own Tathata, or true self. Everyone has a Tathagata. Only after one has uncovered it does he or she attain a purity that is accompanied by a clear mind. Those that have accomplished this are free from suffering and corrupt defilements. The Dharmakaya is the inner beauty that is revealed to those that can call themselves Buddha.